To begin with, I ended 8 wars, and it may be a little early to say this, but if we add Iran and Lebanon, that will be 10 wars ended and many, many millions of lives saved. Think of how many lives we've saved.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor at Uncomfortable Truths. Thanks for checking me out. So today we've got to talk about what's going on with Donald Trump, because he just did a TP USA event where he was literally out there trying to get support for the war and claiming at the same exact time that what he'd actually done is stop 8 wars, and maybe he was going to stop 10 soon, because he was alluding to the fact that there is a ceasefire now between the United States and Iran and Lebanon, and the same thing with Israel. However, we've seen this play out before, and Israel has repeatedly broken the ceasefire agreements that we have set, so I wouldn't get my hopes up too much. But hopefully this actually holds, because that would be fantastic news. But I have my reservations, because so far Trump seems to be completely ruled by Israel, and about 80% of Israel's population wants to continue the war with Lebanon. So I guess we'll see what happens, but let's go ahead and listen to what Donald Trump has to say.
So do not listen to the craven and cowardly voices who tell you America needs to think small or to shrink from our duties or potential. Most people, they wanted to, this recent situation, they wanted to do it, but they said, oh, let's not get involved. Sometimes you have to get involved. You have no choice but to get involved. If you're going to remain great, sometimes you have to get involved. Remember, I'm the people.
Yeah, sometimes you have to get involved when what you're doing is you're covering up for Israel's crimes, because Israel is the aggressor in this, and there's no question about it, guys. Israel is attacking all of their neighbors, and it's never ending for them. It's Gaza, it's Lebanon, it's Iran. These people will not stop until they have the entire region under their control. And everyone in the world sees this, which is why our allies, our supposed allies that Trump is over here bickering about, that is why they are not actually joining the fight. And you can have all of your criticisms of NATO. I also have criticisms of NATO and don't think we should be a part of it. But the idea that the reason they weren't backing us up is because they're enemies of America, that is completely nonsensical, because these people are tied to us pretty significantly, but they see the writing on the wall, and they see that America is not putting their country's interests at the top of their priority list. Instead, what we're doing is we're tying all of our concerns to Israel, which is a completely insignificant country to us economically, and we're tying everything that we're doing to their well-being, even if it means that we're not taking care of our own people. So that's why they're not taking him seriously. That is why they're not doing it. And these countries have made the calculation. They're saying, look, America is crazy. We can't trust them to make good decisions, because right now we're having gas shortages. Right now, some countries are literally not able to go to work all 5 days a week because they can't get enough fuel to get their people to and from work. So they don't have a choice except to start dealing with our supposed adversaries, such as China, because they have to go to work. They have their own economies. They have their own domestic policies. They have their own issues they need to deal with. So we are not good allies either. The only people that we're solid allies for is Israel. And to be honest, guys, at this point, we're not even really their allies as much as we are their client state. So Donald Trump here is a complete puppet to Israel. And you can ask yourself why that is. Perhaps it's tied to a guy named Epstein that mysteriously his life ended. But I ain't never seen nobody, and I'm going to be honest, it wouldn't shock me to find out that the guy is still alive out there somewhere at this point, because everything that the media has told us about this guy, everything the administration has said about him, has been complete lies. Because Donald Trump, if you're being honest with yourself, you would know that if he wasn't tied to Epstein, and if all of his buddies weren't tied to Epstein, some people would have been prosecuted at this point.
And very soon this great strength will also bring about a day, 70 years in waiting. It's called A New Dawn for Cuba. We're going to help them out with Cuba. We have a lot of great Cuban Americans. Not too many people in this audience, I don't think, but you go to Miami, we have people, Cuban Americans, people that were brutally treated, whose families were killed, brutalized, and now...
All right, guys. So now what we're saying is that we're going to start another war with another country. And of course, this one isn't our fault either. We don't have a choice because Donald Trump has got to go in there and make sure that we're actually putting an end to this because they've done some bad things. But at what point do you start to ask yourself, so Trump said he wasn't going to be the world's police. We weren't going to use our military for other countries. Cuba isn't a threat to us, guys. They haven't threatened to attack us. They don't hurt us economically. We are the ones who are starving Cuba out. And now all of a sudden Trump is saying we're going to attack this country as well. For those of you who are keeping track of these things, this is another country that Donald Trump is just saying he's going to overthrow the regime. Now, you can't overthrow all of these countries and then pretend like you are some sort of advocate for peace, because obviously you're not. And Trump is no advocate for peace because now he's talking about taking out Cuba, Mexico, Canada, Greenland, Iran, Lebanon, all of these places, Venezuela. It never ends, guys. And then once he starts these wars, he claims that he ends them, and then he just adds them to the list of these made up wars that he's actually stopped. It's absolutely ridiculous and absurd, and you'd have to be a fool to believe it. All right, so this is literally where we're at today. Donald Trump goes to a Turning Point USA event, which is functionally just a war rally. And he starts off by talking about how he's the Prince of Peace and he's stopped 8 wars and he's going to stop 2 more. But at the same time, he's posturing aggressively against those countries, Iran and Lebanon, and saying that if they don't give us everything we want, we're going to go back into war with them. Well, he also, during this same event, says that he's going to instigate another war against Cuba. So guys, for those of you that are keeping track, Donald Trump is starting all these conflicts, then he gets in the conflicts, and then he pulls out, he gets scared and pulls out, which by the way, I do hope that he pulls out of Iran and Lebanon, because this is an absolute catastrophe. We should 100% cut our losses and just get out of there before Israel ends the ceasefire and pulls us right back in, because that's exactly what they're going to do. But Donald Trump cannot both be the Prince of Peace and run around claiming that he's taking us out of the wars. Bro, you're the one who started the wars. It doesn't count if you light a house on fire and then put the fire out and claim to be a hero, because that's what Donald Trump is doing, guys. So do me a favor, go ahead, hit like and subscribe and share the uncomfortable truths, because we're going to stay on top of stories like these. Take care, everybody.